How much do you know about Mississippi? Would you believe that it is a place where cryptids thrive? Let's set aside all preconceived notions and search the woods of Mississippi together. Welcome back to Mississippi Monsters. This is just an awesome feeling. Whenever I woke up a few days ago and I noticed that we did it. We was trying to hit 100 subs by September, and we have went beyond that. And I am so grateful. I am so glad that y'all are able to do this with me. And please continue to like, share, comment, and most importantly, subscribe. We need those subscriptions. We need those thumbs ups. We need that in order to help this channel grow. Now, I really appreciate it, and my plans are still to try to hit that weekly podcast date every single week, but we're going to get there eventually. And just please remember, if y'all have any stories about these cryptids, whatever we've already covered, just please remember to contact me at mississippimonsters601@gmail.com. As y'all already know, this is going to be in the episode itself through different slides. So please just, if y'all have anything that y'all would like me to talk about, just please hit me up on that email address. I really appreciate it. Now, since y'all have been faithful and y'all have been listening to all my episodes and y'all have been blowing it up, I appreciate it, but I feel like I owe it an explanation. Here in the past 2 weeks, I've had to step away. I've had to take care of other things. I wasn't able to work on this exclusively like I have been the last month or so. And I know y'all have already heard it in other episodes, but my office chair, it squeaks, so just please continue to look over that. But let me get back to it. I've been dealing with a lot of different things that's been affecting me mentally, physically, and anxiety has really crept in. It has been a demon that I have been fighting. And whenever you talk about certain subjects like we've been getting into, and things that I've been trying to get out there to y'all, you have to be wary of what could possibly happen. A lot of these subjects are things that people are not supposed to dig into. I mean, we can talk about it, we can try to figure out what's going on, we can have our own little theories about things, but when you really start digging into some of these things, you really need to be cautious. You really need to be knowing what you're getting into. And I feel like there was one area that I was trying to cover on a episode that I'm mentally, emotionally, and most importantly spiritually was not ready for. And I took a hit, and it greatly affected me. But I'm not going to touch on that subject, and might be something later on down the road whenever I'm in the place I need to be in order to cover it. But let me explain. This channel is not just solely for entertainment. It's not just for us to kick back, have fun, just tell some stories and stuff. I created this channel to address these things. I created a channel to be an outlet for people to be able to let loose of some of this burden that's been put upon them, because, you know, other people just will not accept the fact that these experiences have happened. And with me being a Christian, I have my own way of looking at things based off of what I am convicted the Bible says about it. So this channel is important to me. I'm really passionate about this. I'm really passionate about the subjects. I mean, I've had these things happen to me, and I have questioned so many times about why, and you just can't talk about this with a lot of people. So I apologize for stepping away, but I needed that time to myself. I needed that time for my family. I needed that time to focus on God, to go into the ministry that I'm fixing to be going into, to actually dive deeper into it. And I've been in training. I've been doing other things, but I had to take a step away from this because the place I was going was very dark. the subject matter that I was looking at was very, very troublesome. So, yeah. So let's. I guess what I'm trying to say is that this episode is trying to help everyone that has subscribed, taking their time out of their busy schedule to understand why I have to step away, and to kind of clarify some things and help y'all understand where I'm coming from, and let y'all see a little bit more about my perspective. Now, I've kind of explained about the why I got into this, what happened, my experiences, what I've seen, what I've heard, what my family and people I've worked with have experienced. But I want us to take a step deeper. It's going to be a short episode, as you can already see on the timer. But I want y'all to kind of understand basically where I'm coming from, how I'm approaching this. But one of the things I want y'all to, I guess, understand about me, I've already said I'm a Christian. My worldview is based on the Bible. So here's one of the things or verses in the Bible that I go to whenever I'm trying to figure out certain things, or I guess point me in the right direction. In 2 Chronicles 4:18 it says, "While we look not on the things which are seen, but the things which are not seen. For the things which are seen are temporal, but the things which are not seen are eternal." Now, you can look at this verse a lot of different ways, and I know a lot of people have. This verse to me allows me to understand that as a Christian, I look to things that will never pass away, will never decay, will be incorruptible. But here on earth, the creation is slowly dying. Sin has been brought into this world, and it has wrecked it. And one day, all of this that we see will burn up to the very elements. But this verse also allows us to understand something else. If we look not to things which are seen, that is, you can kind of say, our own perspective, our own reality. The things that affect us every day that are tangible, that we can touch. But the things that we cannot see, we can see it expressed, but we can't actually see these things. It's like love. It's raw emotions. It's hate. We can see how those things are manifested, but we can't actually see those things. But I honestly believe that there lies something more deeper than just, we can talk about emotions, we could talk about words being true energy, and we can go down the rabbit hole and everything else like that. But I stem my perspective on this area of life, or this area, the subject that we're talking about, off of this verse. And when you look at it from this perspective, that the things that are unseen are actually eternal, what does that mean for the things that we do see? What does that mean for the things, or what else is out there that we don't see that will have an everlasting effect, not only on our lives, but of all of creation? And see, my mind, the way it works, it just continuously goes down this rabbit hole. It continuously searches for answers, and there's probably many answers that's not available right now to answer those questions. So that's been something else I've been trying to struggle through. So this motto, or this phrase, kept popping up in my head. And while I was trying to think about this episode, this just kept resonating within me. And here it is. Here's the phrase. Don't let your questions outweigh the answers. Don't let your questions outweigh the answers. We only have a limited amount of answers to the questions that we have. We can only see just a little bit of what's actually out there. We might have questions that can span, like, what exactly is Bigfoot? Is it flesh, blood? Is it spiritual? Is it a mixture of both? Right now, that cannot be answered. It will not satisfy the masses. We can wonder about these things, we can speculate, we can look at all the different evidence, but we can only go with what we have. And with everybody that has all these different experiences, you got experiences of Bigfoot vanishing behind a tree. You have Bigfoot coming out of a UFO. You have Bigfoot just popping out of a lake after he caught a fish. Bigfoot coming out of the woods trying to talk to you. Bigfoot kidnapping people. You have all these different experiences, and if we honestly take a look at each one of these experiences, it's hard to say which one's real, which one's not real, which one's credible, which one's not credible. The thing is, you have so many different types of reports about these creatures, it creates more questions than answers. And I'm going to be honest with you, whenever you start trying to do research and start trying to categorize all the different type of behavioral aspects of this one creature, it's phenomenal, and you can get yourself in trouble big time if you're not careful. Now, you can go ahead and write off everything that doesn't fit your own narrative. You may think one way about this creature, and you may think that Bigfoot is only flesh and blood, and then you discredit everything else that you've heard about a supernatural, a spiritual, or anything else that does not fit inside that physical narrative of Bigfoot, and totally write off everything else and try to form something based off your biased opinion. Now, I have no idea what Bigfoot is. I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm going to keep looking at things. I'm going to keep looking at encounters, reading about them, hearing about them. I'm not going to make up my mind one way or another about this creature. I know it's out there. I know it exists, and that's fine with me. I don't have to debate all these different trolls on the internet in order to figure out for myself or make up my own opinion about what he is. He exists, and that's good enough for me. And as a Christian, the thing is, I don't have to see something. I don't have to physically touch something in order to believe it. Now, I put my faith in God and Jesus Christ without ever even seeing them, but I have felt the evidence. I have heard the testimonies of others. I believe beyond a shadow of a doubt that they've encountered, they've witnessed, something has happened and changed within them. Now, when you talk about these people, these witnesses that have seen these things that have happened to them, whether it be Bigfoot, Dogman, ghost, or anything else like that, that encounter will change them. It will. And you can start speculating about who's lying and who's not and start trying to interrogate them, but that's not what I'm going to be doing. I will never interrogate anybody. All I've ever done was just ask questions. I try to come at it as a conversation piece. Somebody wants to talk about something, I'm there. I'm willing to listen. The thing is, we cannot allow our biasness or biased thoughts to interfere with somebody else's experiences. So here, my perspective already began with that about the Christian worldview. But let me expound upon that. I do not believe this reality is all that's out there. I do not believe that if we see something, that's the only thing that could be real. I believe the truest and realest things are the things that are not seen. They're not seen. Because I'm a Christian, well, I told you I'd go back to the Bible. And 1 Corinthians chapter 13 is the chapter on love. Easy as that, right? Chapter on love. The last verse says, in faith, hope, and charity, they're the greatest things, but the greatest is charity, meaning love. Now those three things right there, they're the most important things, but none of them are physically tangible. None of them can be seen with your naked eye. Those are all things that are felt when you have faith, when you have hope, when you have love. So those things have to exist outside our plane of existence. They have to be bigger than who we are, bigger than our own reality. But the greatest is love, something that goes beyond this one reality into other realities, other dimensions, you would say. But also, since I believe the Bible, I believe that there are other entities out there, for we war not against flesh and blood, but against powers, principalities, kingdoms. these are the unseen things that exist out there. And so if they are unseen, they must be able to exist on a different plane of existence, and they are able to cross over to our existence. Now I know I'm really getting out there. I'm really stretching y'all's imagination, but please, just this is how I see things. We live in a world, or we live in a very fascinating creation that is made up of multiple dimensions. Our scientists have finally caught up with this idea, this very notion that there are parallel universes, there are parallel existing planes of that are going at the same time we are. And this is just, it's very fascinating, but the thing is, you cannot overthink this. You can't. You can only go so far as your mind lets you, or you're going to hurt yourself. Alright, now we're talking about other different types of entities and the powers and the principalities. Aliens. I will rarely cover anything about aliens. Now, I've talked about the Pascagoula aliens because it happened here in Mississippi. It's one of the biggest things that have happened, and there was no sense of dread of me covering this subject. But I will not go into detail about other different type of encounters, because I believe that these are not extraterrestrial beings. I believe they are extra-dimensional beings, i.e. demons, evil entities. And I do have a bias about that. I do. Based off of things that I've heard, things that I've experienced, things that people I trust have encountered, and how certain things affected the situation. Every time that you hear about these things abducting somebody, there is a sense of oppression that is going over these people, and they cannot move. They talk about how they're like in a tracker beam. And they can't move, but yet they can be carried, they can be forced to do whatever. But on so many times when somebody's able to cry out, they can cry out the name of Jesus Christ, proclaim His blood upon them, and these creatures will get mad, and they will flee, they will just get angry. And there's this one YouTuber, God rest his soul, talks about this sense of oppression that came upon him, and he saw these creatures come for him, and then it was like a rushing mighty wind, then like a roar of a lion, and these creatures fled in fear. And he believed that it was the Almighty God there to protect him. So these things right here, something that I believe is truly demonic, I'm not going to go down that road. I just won't. I know they're real, and I'm not going to try to do anything that will invite them in. And then that leads us to ghosts. A lot of people want to dive into this subject because they think that this is dead grandma, this is the dead uncle, this is dead auntie, dead wife, dead child, and they try to talk to them. And I don't understand why they think that these people or these souls are just lost in limbo, waiting to go to heaven or hell. More than likely, the experiences that these people have are truly terrifying. And in some cases, possession happens. These are not somebody's soul. This is a spirit. And we can argue this back and forth, but I will rarely talk about ghost stories into great extent or go in great detail because of what it might invite in. And I do understand that these demons, they get their power by how people feel about them, crying out their name, worshiping them in some fashion. And I won't let them have that power. I refuse to let them have that power. So another thing about ghosts, I mean, you can argue with it back and forth with me. I've got my opinion, and I know I just talked about being biased or whatever. But my opinion stems from my biblical worldview, and I'm just not going to do it. And the only time in the Bible was somebody was able to communicate with somebody from the dead, it was Saul with the witch of Endor, and he conjured up Samuel, and Samuel blasted both of them, utterly blasted them. But the thing about the Bible that we need to understand back in the Old Testament is that Samuel wasn't in heaven then. If you truly understand the Bible, you understand that Samuel was in a place called paradise, a place, an upper hill in Abraham's bosom. Now, if I just blew your mind, I can talk to y'all about that, kind of explain it, give you some biblical verses about that. But Christians or God followers did not go into heaven until after Christ died on the cross. That's biblical. You can't argue it any other way except using extra biblical stuff, and I'm not going to listen to it. But the thing is, that's the only time that has ever been truly referenced about someone that has died, that her spirit has been conjured up to ask a question, and they got rebuked. So, let me get off that. Get on to another thing about when people see ghosts. Now, since I said that this plane of existence is an extra-dimensional one, there is this idea when people witness these entities, or whatever you want to call them, and these people, they witness these spirits doing the same thing at certain times of the day, certain times of the year, certain times at night, and it's just like, it's an animation. It's like a holographic image, and they just keep doing the same routine. Now, a lot of speculation about that is that it's time slips, is that you're actually viewing into the past. And I believe that that might be quite possible, that you're not actually interacting with this spirit, this entity, but you're actually seeing something from days past. And just to get into that whole different subject right there is quite fascinating. And I already lied to you. I already said that this was going to be a short episode, and I have already went well over 20 minutes. But I'm going to cover one more thing, and then we're going to be gone. I promise. Now, cryptids. Cryptids, on the other hand, are altogether something totally different. It's that part of... I kind of already got into it earlier in the episode. They are so interesting because there's so many different ones out there. There's some that you can truly say that evil is all up in them. That they are truly a manifestation of hate, of evil, of malice. Hearing all these encounters and talking about all these people just feeling the intense dread of whenever they was near these things. But on the other hand, there's other people that talk about how they felt nothing but peace. There was nothing bothering them in their spirit, their mental state, emotionally. It's just like, hey, I'm here. Let's just do what we got to do and leave. And in those encounters, it is truly fascinating, which I've heard of another theory about these cryptids, these creatures. And it is stated that these creatures are more like, they're like empty vessels. They might have some sort of soul, but the thing is, whenever something is possessed, that soul no longer is in control. So if they are empty vessels, they are awaiting to be filled later on at a later date. Now the Bible talks about how the beast of the field will rise up, and they will kill people. Is this what it's talking about? That's just my speculation. I'm not trying to say that that's exactly what it is, because I honestly have no idea. But it's fascinating. Now, with all this in mind, the multidimensional universe, the demonic imagery that is set up in the ghost and the alien stories, and then all these things that happen with the cryptids. Is so many questions out there. And so whenever we think about these questions and we search them out, we have to understand that we only are allowed, or we only are have available a limited amount of answers. And so if we bombard our brains with questions and questions and questions, questions that can't possibly be answered right now, and we dwell on them and they become our life, and knowing that we cannot find the answer, it is impossible for us to remain healthy mentally if we're dwelling on something that we cannot possibly obtain. That's when we have to go back and understand that we have answers. We have some stories. We have known facts. And we have to go from there. We cannot let our questions bombard us and weigh us down and burden us to a point that we cannot live out our life. This is only one subject. This is only one thing that people are interested in, and that should be that. It is a common interest that brings millions of people together, that we're searching for answers, but at the same time, there is a whole nother life out there. See, I allowed this to come between me and my wife. I allowed it to come between me and my children, and most importantly, I allowed it to come between me and my God. That's when I realized I had to take a step back. I'm a minister. I'm a preacher. I've been preaching quite a few Sundays here lately. And it has affected me greatly. And that's the thing. We cannot allow it to get to that point where it affects us at that level. We can't. This ultimately should be an aspect of something that we look at. Some people should only look at it as football because they can't handle it mentally. It should be just like a hobby, something that you enjoy researching, something you enjoy listening to. While others can dig a little bit deeper. They can become professors in this. They can actually start doing the research and truly investigating, allowing a little bit more time because they can handle it. We're all made differently. We are, and we have to accept that. But the thing is, we have to understand how we're supposed to balance this issue. I wasn't balancing it so well. And so now I had to take a step back and figure out exactly how much time I needed to devote to it. I needed to figure out exactly how much time I needed to just to listen to podcasts, just to read about it. And I'm going to be honest with you, this is the first time in my life that I had to take a pause on this subject. Folks, this is some deep, deep stuff. It's not just pure entertainment, I'm telling you. Now, I put it out there. If it entertains you, that's fine. If it informs you, it's fine. But the thing is, I'm doing this for a reason. I have questions, and I'm just trying to figure out a little bit more. And I'm really focusing on what is going on in Mississippi because, folks, things are happening all the time that people are unaware of. So I'm going to leave y'all with this. And just remember, there are boogers in those woods. Good night.